it really fits nicely within a mix of like Hot Water Music, Lawrence Arms, American Steel, Off With Their Heads. But you could put this band with a hardcore band and it would fit okay, I think. What's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome back to the Punk Rock Review Podcast. We're hanging out tonight. We are talking about a couple of albums that have major anniversaries coming up this summer. And yeah, they're just records that are important to us. And what I like to do throughout the year is pick out albums that are hitting these major milestones because it's stuff that is on people's minds. And it gives me an easier choice within, trying to choose a topic to talk about. It gives me a reason to research things. I learned a lot about these records doing this. I really like it. So tonight we're going to talk about Dillinger 4 vs. God. Came out 25 years ago. Then we're going to talk about Husker Du New Day Rising, which came out 40 years ago, which is absolutely crazy, which I don't know if you knew this or not, but it came out 40 years ago, like 2 days ago on the 14th, January 14th.
The anniversary? I had no idea.
Yeah, so it literally just hit 40 years 2 days ago from the recording of this video.
It's wild. It's wild to think about. Yeah.
It's very wild, isn't it? Isn't that crazy, man? 40 years that you've been listening to, or 40 years of a record being around that you like that much?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
yeah, when you were 2, you were like, let's go.
Yeah.
Bob's my favorite.
It's always interesting. I don't know if you've had this experience, like when you find a band like later in life and you're like, fuck, like, why don't I find this sooner?
Oh, bro, The Clash. I will never stop telling people how much I feel like a dumbass.
Yeah, it's one of those bands that like definitely had a big impact. So I'm like, if I would have found this in my 20s, it would. I mean, you find things when you find.
So I know we're gonna talk about Dillinger 4 first, as far as an album.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, when did you start listening to Husker Du? I know they're really important to you.
Yeah, so I can like remember the year and everything and like all that. It was 2000. It was 2003.
Oh wow! So that was in your 20s, wasn't it?
I mean, yeah, I was in my early 20s. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I mean, what I meant to say was when I was in my
teens or whatever, high school.
Yeah. Maybe I wouldn't have gotten it. Who fucking knows? You discover things when you discover them. But I discovered them in the Replacements because the same guy introduced them to me.
Don't you love that?
Yeah.
No. I have a dude that introduced me to American Steel and Murder City Devils, and so I always associate those two bands, even when they don't really go together necessarily, but I always think of them as like bands that kind of fit the same mold and against me even, and they don't really sound sonically the same. But this dude Mike, shout out Mike from Bennigan's, let's go Bennigan's waitstaff, come on now. Leather jackets and 80s Buicks, let's go. Cassette tapes and everything. Train hopping girls named Jamie that peed herself, let's do it, come on now. That's a story for another time. Okay, so this will be a fun conversation. So I have this little spiel. All right. I'm gonna read a couple things real fast, and we're gonna talk about Dillinger 4, and then we'll move over to Husker Du in a few minutes, and you can tell me all about this band and why it's so important to you. All right, man. So the summer of 2020, we got Dillinger 4. They put out their sophomore album called Versus God, right? It came out, like I said, June 20, 2000, 25 years ago. Yeah. It's 13 songs, 31 minutes. Coincidentally, I love that number. It's their sophomore album, like I said, released on Hopeless Records. I really enjoy that they have 2 vocalists. It keeps it from getting very boring. They
actually have 3 vocalists.
Oh, they have 3 vocalists? Well, yeah. That, sir, is just a step too far. Never mind. I hate it.
Sometimes I got confused about whether it was a bassist or the guitar player.
I definitely didn't realize there was 3.
Low voices. Or deep kind of voices, gruff voices. I know when Eric is singing because he's got the nasally more kind of.
Okay, so yeah, that's the one I could pick out. I didn't realize there was 2 other.
Yeah.
So Dillinger 4 really blurred the lines between like straight up punk rock, hardcore, and then like that Orgcore stuff everybody talks about. It really fits nicely within a mix of like Hot Water Music, Lawrence Arms, American Steel, Off With Their Heads. But you could put this band with a hardcore band and it would fit okay. I think it could do a nice tour. And then with this particular record, the flow of it is really easy to get lost in. It's a really good example of an album that needs to be listened to in its entirety from front to back. It's more of like a a piece of art versus little individual pieces that you can just kind of pull out and listen to whatever you want. You can put songs in mixtapes and playlists. It's just fine. But I listened to it a whole bunch over the last week because I kept forgetting to do it. So I'd listen to it. I'd start doing it again a day later and be like, oh yeah, I already listened to it. Well, it's only 30 minutes. I'll listen to it again. So I listened to it a few times, and it's a good record, like front to back. And
I wanted to add a little caveat to that.
Well, here, I got one more thing, and then I want to hear your thoughts on it. So,
okay, of course, yeah.
With this record, there's a production style that I'm very fond of with records like this. You can hear everything that's being done, everything that's being said, but it's not overly produced, and it's an album that sounds really good on any kind of format, at any volume level, and that's really a unique thing. A lot of records don't sound good on CD, or they sound better on vinyl, or they don't sound good in a car, but they sound good at your house. I've heard this record a lot. It's never sounded bad. It's always sounded really good. I think it's part of the mix is the reason for that. So that's kind of my initial thoughts on the record. So yes, what do you got to say about Dillinger 4 versus God?
D4. I mean, I first discovered that band in 1998. My buddy, my buddy I was in my first band ever with, Sim. He was like, hey man, you got to check this band out. And he got me turned on to Midwestern Songs for the Americas, their first record.
Good record.
And I've never heard a more clever fucking punk album in my life. Those guys' lyrics can stand alone as like a book. They're some of the most hilarious writers I've ever seen or experienced. And just the names of their songs are just so fucking ridiculous and witty. They're extremely witty. And like, I think a lot of the Orgcore stuff that you were talking about came as a result of them. They were like the people that created that genre, essentially. So all these bands kind of followed suit after them, essentially. They're just
there's a handful of them. I would say like American Steel was back in the 90s, Hot Water Music was back in the 90s, Dillinger 4, and they all kind of fit in the same mold, I think. But they all have their own unique things as well, like very much. And you're absolutely correct with their lyric writing. It's very witty. And I was reading something on them the other day, it might have been today even, and they were compared to that band, the Monkees, because they were just like trying to disrupt the music scene. They were trying to disrupt like corporate music, and they thought it was ridiculous, and they were just being disruptive. And I thought, dude, and the guy was like, I'm saying this as a compliment to both bands. It's not a diss on anybody. And I thought that was really interesting. Because the Monkees were that. They were like making fun of the Beatles, essentially. And they were like, this is so ridiculous. We can do it. And so they did it. And it's like, I may have a little bit of that wrong, but yeah, I remember the Monkees, they were basically a joke. They were a caricature of the Beatles. And they got very famous. They had a show on TV. I mean,
that's right.
Yeah, dude, Dillinger 4 is a really good band. I don't know, man. I really enjoy this album quite a bit.
It's a great record.
Yeah, man. They have so they have a few songs that I really, really love on this record.
Sorry,
I'm gonna wait for the dog to stop barking. We good. All right. So there's a few songs on this record that are really, really, really good that kind of stand out on their own, even within an album that needs to be heard in its entirety. And you've got Define Learning Disorder, which like sonically is not my favorite song on the album, but it's probably my favorite lyrics on the record. I really, really enjoy those lyrics. I don't even enjoy it. I appreciate them.
Yeah, definitely.
And then you have Maximum Piss and Vinegar, which is the easy choice, of course. Shiny Things is good.
Yep.
Jay Harris and Let Them Eat Thomas Paine. Those are my favorite tracks on the record as far as like which ones I put on my personal playlist. I think the whole record made it to the Punk Rock Review playlist. Go on Spotify if anybody's interested. On Spotify, I have a Punk Rock Review playlist, and you can go check it out. It's like 2,000 songs strong almost. It's a very long, deep playlist that you can get kind of dig into. And honestly, every week on the stream now, I'm like adding new songs to the playlist, which reminds me I got to do that for yesterday's stream. So, what songs are some of your favorites off this album?
How many punks does it take to screw in a light bulb?
I knew you were going to say that one. I knew it.
That's one of my favorites on that record. Shiny Things is good. Jay Harris, of course. Get Your Study Hall Out of My Recess. Again, dude, these song titles, man, like
like for real.
there's a lot of bands that I think like try to copy D4 and just they're not as funny, they're not as smart, you know.
But that's where they stand out on their own, kind of. Is that
Huh?
that's where they stand on their own? Is that they're
Yeah,
like not only it's like they're almost like what's the word, man? Like that, like the kid in school is kind of a cynic who's like kind of smart. They're witty, but they're kind of like in the corner, like fuck you, but they're really kind of funny and smart. That's what
yeah.
this band feels like to me. Like they're always
Totally.
grumpy about some shit. They don't seem like anything. Like they don't look at things glass half full at all. They're glass half empty kind of guys, and that's not always a bad thing. I mean, we need all of it. You can't, you
Right.
know, glass half full people would get awfully boring, and that's all that existed. So
Totally. I got to, you know, and during my more formative years and getting into punk rock when I was 16, like their lyrics really kind of helped me, you know, find my worldviews too a little bit. You know what I mean? Like they were one of the bands to me. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, this is a good example of a band that I didn't find until I've only been listening to this band for like maybe 5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. Later.
Yeah. When I was younger, man, it was very much, I'll say 5 years is probably not really accurate. It's probably been over 10, but like real strong for like 5 or 6. Like I knew about them 10, 12, 13, 14 years ago, but like 5, 6, 7 years ago was when I really started like buying albums, you know, listening to them in its entirety, not on just mixes and playlists and stuff. So I guess it's like a twofold thing. I knew about them a while back, heard them, could have cited an album title or whatever, but now I would like see them in shows, own albums. So there's been a like progression there. But like in high school, I didn't know about them. Back then, I really was listening to spiky haired street punk stuff. Like that's all I really cared about. Swinging Utters, US Bombs, The Unseen, Global Threat, Casualties. But like as I get older, I like this a little more somber, toned down, rock and roll style punk rock that also is heavy and fast, but it's a little less. I don't know, man. It's a little more low end to it, if that makes any sense. Not so. It's a little more, still just as angry, but a little less.
The Dillinger Four is on the bass, really bass heavy band.
Yes, yeah, their bass tone's solid, man. They're a good band, and I don't know enough about them to sit here and cite like lyrics and stuff like that really off the top of my head. When I hear some stuff, some of it I can sing along to, some of it I can't. But I really enjoy the band. I think it's worth celebrating. 25 years is a long time.
They're super catchy.
They are very catchy. It wouldn't take long before you could remember a whole record, I would think.
Yeah, they're like one of the OG Fest bands. They've been around since like Fest 1. You know.
Yeah, well, that's Hot Water Music is another reason why. That's why I cited them too, is because that band, American Steel, those bands have all been into that scene, man. That's been their jam.
They've all been on tour together. D4 Hot Water Music have been touring since like the 90s together.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me even a little bit.
Like, you know, just there's like a Florida connection. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Because the fest before now, it's all corporate sponsors like Pabst beer.
Right.
There's hundreds of bands there, and there's a lot of money in it. But like when the first fest was maybe around 2000, you know, and I don't know, 01. And there was no money. It was just fucking all the bands on that label, Hot Water Music.
I remember when that started happening, people in Texas were like, dude, what?
We
were trying to get down there if we had any money. Some of us couldn't, but some of us could.
You're a lot closer than I am. So it's probably easier for some of us.
Well, I mean, not really. I mean, Texas may as well be California, bro, when you're poor. I mean, you know how that is.
That's true. Good places,
Florida is so fucking far, at least to me. You know that. Did you ever see that tour called the Revival Tour? And it had like Chuck Reagan and Ben Nichols and
no.
Okay, so there's a group called Sawwheel out of Austin, I think is where they're from, and then Chuck Reagan, Ben Nichols, and I was hanging out with those guys, and we were talking about like punk bands that we liked, and there was a band called Nothington that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And through Nothington is how I got into Dillinger 4, because somebody was telling me like, yeah, those dudes love Dillinger 4, and I was like, Dillinger what? And I was like, wait, there's another Dillinger band, and I was like kind of joking around. The guy was like, oh yeah, do you like Dillinger Escape Plan? And I was like, ugh. And he was like, yeah, well, this is like the polar opposite of that.
Different Dillinger.
yeah. And I was like, oh, that's how I heard about them, and that's how I like started listening to them. And I don't know how fast I took to it, but I remember liking it. And that was probably, oh man, hold on, I can find out, because the Revival Tour was like, it turned into a big thing. And that was when I got to hang out with Laura Jane Grace before she was Laura Jane Grace, and hung out getting our hair cut together in the middle of a venue, dude. Like just sitting in a dirty ass shitty venue floor. There was barbers in there cutting hair, and I was just happened to be early, and they're like, "Want a haircut?" I was like, "Yeah." Sat down and got my haircut. It was crazy, bro. I was hanging out. Ben Nichols got my hat, bastard.
That's cool. That's really dope.
Yeah, it was awesome, dude. Let's see. I don't know when that happened, but it was like probably like mid to late 2000s, mid 2000s, because I got with my wife in like 2012, 2011. So before I knew her, yeah, probably like 2007, somewhere in that neighborhood. So that's about when I got a hold of this band's music.
Yeah.
Do you have an album that you like out of their discography, like that's your favorite?
Yeah, their first one.
Okay.
Most Songs for the Americas. That's my favorite D4 record. I mean, I think just front to back. I mean, you got to give that one a listen next.
No. I own their records. I like that record too. My only issue is that it takes me forever to remember song titles and lyrics because I have such a terrible short-term memory from a head injury. And like, so like I'll listen to an album 30 times and still only know like 5% of the words. But but when I hear the melody is what I remember. I can be like, oh, I know this song, and it's like this. The lyrics, bro, it takes me a while, man.
I mean, they've been a band since like 93 or 94, but I don't think they're really.
That's been an incredibly long time.
Yeah, I don't think they put out a record until
96 or 7, I think is what I saw.
No, there was one before that, but it's not on any label. I think it's just like a collection of 7 inches and stuff.
Okay,
but
that's cool though. That's dope. I wouldn't mind getting my hands on some of them old 7 inches.
Yeah.
You see, I did a Grail video, stuff I was looking for.
I did actually. I was watching it earlier today.
Oh, nice, thank you. Yeah, man. There's a handful of things I'm looking for, but not a lot. I don't really buy for myself that much anymore. I did get here's another band I really like that sort of fits in the same category as Dillinger 4, but you could go either direction with it. Is Bombshell Rocks. And I got a test press off of Lars Frederiksen, dude. I was like, let's go.
What do you mean off of Lars Frederiksen? Does he do?
I bought a Bombshell Rocks test press from him.
Does he have like a where does he sell his stuff?
Oh man, I don't know why I'm talking to you like you know what I'm talking about. Sorry. No, he's got a thing called Lars's Locker. It's called Laz's Locker, and it's where he sells stuff on eBay and whatnot. But he started it on Instagram, and I've got like DMs from me and him that go back to like 2020, dude, like before COVID, because I was buying stuff for my comic book shop from him. Like I've been buying stuff from that guy for years. Yeah.
Been a patron of Lars.
I'm hoping that I can be like, yo, dude, hey, I'm not trying to like be weird, but like any chance you got 30 minutes we could talk about wrestling or something on my podcast? He might be receptive, you know. I'm in the process of trying to get Fat Mike too, so we'll see.
Oh shit. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, dude, I mean it's possible. I got a hold of the lady that does all the Fat Record stuff, so
is that Erin? Right, his wife?
No, it's another lady named Vanessa.
Okay, got it.
But she's super cool. I've been dealing with her for a while too. I showed you these, didn't I?
You did, man.
Man, this is crazy, bro. It's so weird, man, having it like in my hands. It's so strange.
The bullshit. You sold out of the first pressing, didn't you?
Just about. I got about 20 copies left.
Oh hell yeah, those are gonna
be they're moving quick. I have a stash that I kept for myself. Like I think it's like 5 copies, but like other than that, yeah, they're about gone. Of the split, the solo one, because you know. The split, I had to do it with 2 bands, and then they also bought a bunch of wholesale copies from me for their tour, which I wasn't going to say no to that. And so it sold faster than the solo 7-inch did, but dude, they're equally as good as far as quality of music.
Oh yeah, dope.
So okay, that was a short talk because I think it needed to be. There wasn't a whole lot else to say about that record. I just wanted to celebrate it, talk about it for a minute. Anybody that's a fan of Dillinger 4, let me know what your favorite songs are by that band. Let me know your favorite record. Other bands that they've influenced that maybe I'll like. There's all kinds of things you could let me know. I like to soak it in, and I'm not always receptive at first, so just be patient. Sometimes I gotta give it. Hey, look, there's a lot of value in knowing what kind of pain in the ass you are. And sometimes I'm like, no, I don't want to do that because I didn't think of it or whatever the dumb reason is. I come around. I promise. Just
my first answer is usually no to most things.
Yeah, it's it's so stupid, bro.
It's just because I'm kind of a contrarian that way. It doesn't piss my girlfriend off, but you know, I'm just like.
Oh, I thought you were talking about me. I was agreeing because yeah. So both of us do that. Yeah, I don't know. It's so dumb, bro. I don't know why I do it, but I've been there my whole life, man. Hey, you want to try some mustard on a sandwich? Oh, I hate mustard. And 2 weeks later, man, I'm like, oh, I love mustard on my sandwiches. My friends are like, yeah, you're a dick, bro. I'm like, you know, sometimes.
At least you come around to mustard, man. You know.
Facts. So I had some mustard today. I got some good low carb bread. It's so good, bro. I finally found a good bread I can eat, man. 30 calories a slice. I was like, let's go. I got some goals, bro. I killed it today. I'm like 350 calorie deficit. I
Oh
still have
yeah,
a whole.
dude. Oh, you're trying to be in a calorie deficit.
Oh, bro, dude. I got like a whole meal still allowed after this podcast, and I'm still going to be at a 350 calorie deficit. And I don't eat from 12 to 12. I do a 12-hour.
I would be so hungry all the time. But
Nah, bro. It's if you figure out the foods you can eat, it's chill, bro. Like that's it. That's all it is I had to figure out stuff I can eat. Like I don't eat candy anymore. I don't eat chips anymore. I don't eat out fast food anymore. I can have McDonald's chicken nuggets because they're low calories. I can have Chick-fil-A, obviously. I can have that. Mostly it's chicken, and it's really avoid the bread, avoid sugary sodas. If you can avoid bread, avoid sugary sodas, you can kind of eat some stuff whenever you want, man. Like Chipotle, go there, get a bowl. Don't get a tortilla with it. Just get the bowl. You'll be fine. Yeah. It's just way less calories. There's so many calories in these tortillas and bread and stuff. So
yeah.
But all right, man. Let's hey, dude, it's all right. This is an interesting conversation. People, dude, I think you would be surprised at the shit people like to hear about just on a podcast. I listen to the most ridiculous shit that people talk about, and I don't even know why I do it. But
it's people can hopefully relate. You know, if you're in here listening to us talk about Husker Du and Dillinger 4, you're probably over the age of 40.
You know what I'm saying? That's a good point.
And you probably want to lose some weight.
Valid points.
Or you're looking for better health, quality of life.
Right. I find it cool whenever you're willing to like pull back the curtain a little bit and show people like, hey man, I'm not trying to act like I'm somebody I'm not. I'm just a dude.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of value in that. And it's one of the reasons I started doing my shop videos. You know what I'm saying? Because I thought, well, if I do that and I let them see what I'm doing in my store, people will be able to trust me without having to really think about it because I'm showing them what I'm doing. And if I can do that, that'll just serve me well. You know, totally. The one thing I don't want anybody to ever say is like, hey, I don't think that guy is a trustworthy guy. His character is in question. That would crush me. So I just don't let that be a thing.